Well, welcome back, everyone. My name is Gretchen Schubeck, and I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Novato. I'll be your MC for day 2 of this inaugural tour of green homes in Marin. I hope you were able to tune in yesterday for day 1 of the tour, but if not, you'll be able to view a recording of the webinar on maringreenhometour.org within the week. We're thrilled that you're able to join us today. The team helping support this online event today is Julie Chu from the County of Marin, who's graciously hosting us on the county's Zoom platform and helping with essential tech support. Bob Brown from Sustainable Communities Planning is behind the scenes, making sure that presenters and homeowners log in on time. And Amy Kaiser with the East Bay Green Home Tour will be leading the Q&A following each video tour. Now, the members of our fabulous Marin Green Home Tour Planning Committee listed on this slide will be active in the chat and the Q&A, answering whatever questions they can and dropping helpful links in the chat. In addition to the hard work of our planning committee, this event is made possible through the generous support of our sponsors, all of whom are engaged in important work helping us move toward a sustainable, clean energy future. This includes local city governments and public agencies, nonprofit organizations, and the service providers who are essential to greening our homes. Big thanks to our top level sponsor, MCE, Boulevard Real Estate, Red Horse Constructors, Mr. Insulation, Switches On, Quit Carbon, County of Marin Sustainability Team, Sunfirst Solar Energy Solutions, SPAN, and Ungaro & Sons Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Thank you also to Electrify My Home, Attain Real Estate, Fairfax Lumber, the Seroptimist Club of Novato, Kelly Plumbing and Heating, Sustainable Novato, Solarcraft, Bellows Plumbing and Heating, Healthier Dwelling, Marin Realtors, and Orange Charger. Your support really did help make this event possible. We also have tremendous respect and gratitude for all our sponsors, including the many Marin cities and towns, businesses, and organizations who are playing important roles in this movement. The Marin Green Home Tour was produced on a tight budget with help from these sponsors. And if you find the tour useful or inspiring, please consider donating at maringreenhometour.org/donate. Now I'll turn it over to Amy, who will review our program for today.
Thanks, Gretchen. And to our webinar participants, thank you for returning to view another 5 homes. As a recap, yesterday we learned about your home as a power source, heat pumps, and rebates. We looked at DIY insulation, orange chargers, and systems to capture rain and gray water for bountiful gardens. As a reminder, if you missed yesterday, you'll be able to view the recorded webinar on the Marin Green Home Tour website in a few days. Today, we're going to tour apartment complexes, homes with cutting-edge energy systems, and a few properties with ADUs, which is an acronym that stands for accessory dwelling unit. They used to be called in-law units. You'll also learn about induction cooking and the health hazards of gas stoves. When transitioning a home off fossil fuels, some people run into problems with their electric panel being maxed out. But today you're going to learn strategies to get the most of your existing electric panel. So now we're going to go to Julie for some Zoom basics.
Thanks, Amy. In case you are new to a Zoom webinar, these are the features that will be most useful for you today. At the bottom of your screen, you will see these icons: chat, Q&A, and live transcript. Q&A is specifically for the questions that you want to ask the homeowner or presenter who we are highlighting. Chat is for comments and engaging with other attendees. So remember, questions for the speakers and homeowners go in the Q&A field, not chat. The closed caption icon, CC, will allow you to start or stop the live transcript on your screen. This can be helpful if you have any trouble hearing. In the top right corner of your screen, you have a few options for your view. If you want to close the boxes that show all the presenters, click on the dash icon. Now I'll hand it back to Gretchen.
Great, thanks, Julie. I'd like to start today's tour with this primary message. To avoid catastrophic climate change, we need to, 1, quit burning fossil fuels in our homes and transition to clean, renewable energy. 2, sequester carbon in our trees and plants. And 3, compost our organic waste instead of sending it to landfill, because compost helps soil sequester carbon. To adapt to climate change, we need places to stay cool, ways to avoid fire and smoke, and we need to capture, reuse, and conserve water. And while there are certainly other essential climate change strategies, when thinking about our homes, these are the top line actions. The good news is that the solutions are already here. There's no need to wait for some big magical fix to come down the pike. We have all the tools we need right now, and there are lots of different pathways that people are taking towards greening their home. You'll see many examples today, and I hope that the journeys of these homeowners inspire you. So it's time to start drawing up your green home plan, and rebates and financing to help you are available, with more and bigger support on the way, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act. If you need advice or want to know your options, help exists. A major goal of this tour is to connect you with information and resources you need to take the next step. Another major goal of the Green Home Tour is to inspire you to make change in the place where you have the most control, the little kingdom that is your home. Collective action is crucial, and using your voice to support initiatives in your community that will help us all transition to a clean energy and climate resilient future is critical right now. At the same time, we all have tremendous capacity for change in our own homes, and this is one area where you can really advance the ball down the field, moving towards your vision and your values while influencing your family, neighbors, and your community as well. Now, people in the solar and electric vehicle industry know that solar adoption and EV adoption often happens along social networks, people talking to each other. It's neighbors, friends, family, and coworkers talking with neighbors, friends, family, and coworkers about their experience with these new technologies. It emboldens the people in your life to take steps in the same direction that you are. Besides your home, the other place where you have a lot of influence is your social network. And that can look a lot of different ways. Perhaps talking to your neighbors about no money down solar lease opportunities, or telling friends who are lifting their house to get a second unit on the first floor, hey, this is your chance to get a heat pump system. Or telling your sister who has asthma how to improve indoor air quality by getting rid of their gas range. Or maybe just posting a photo of your heat pump on Facebook on a hot day saying, hey, ask me about my heat pump. Own the power that you have to influence the people in your life. So share what you know, including these home videos, which will land on maringreenhometour.org this coming week. Share them to your heart's content. Don't underestimate the power and influence of your social network. Okay, let's get started touring some homes. Our first home is in San Rafael and belongs to Bill and Tamara, who are big movers and shakers in the climate action and resilient movement in Marin County. Tamara is the founder of Resilient Neighborhoods, and we're grateful for their sponsorship of the tour.
Hello, I'm Tamara. Welcome to our green home. And I'm Bill Carney. Welcome. This house was built in 1996. We moved here in 2001, and we were very glad to be so close to downtown San Rafael. We're about a 20-minute walk away, and in the time we've lived here, we've gotten increasingly involved in the community, and particularly advocating for climate change, climate action. One of the most important reasons that we bought the house and what we were really looking for was a connection to nature, which is important to both of us. And we found out that there was access to nature right across the street. There was access to the city open space. It was 2008 when we got on our path to greening the home. And the first thing we did was getting solar panels. And we still have the original solar panels. And it's really great to see our electric bill. And in the summer, we're actually selling electricity back to the grid. After about a 15-year process, our final big installment for going fossil-free in this house was the installation of a heat pump HVAC system. You see behind me the condenser that takes ambient air and in the winter turns it into heat, and in the summer turns it into cooling. But now we're inside. This is where that good heating and or cooling comes from the outside heat pump. This is the air handler that then distributes that air through our central ductwork that goes throughout the house. In addition to that, with air quality decreasing because of smoke and other effects of climate change, this has a filter, a MERV 15 filter in this part of the assembly. So all of the air flowing through the house goes through that very high quality filter. You're getting multiple functions out of a single piece of equipment. And it's addressing not only helping to bring down the causes of climate change, greenhouse gases, but it's also addressing some of the impacts of climate change in the form of heat and smoke.
Both of us care very, very deeply about climate change. And for me, it was so much that 10 years ago, I started an organization called Resilient Neighborhoods to help people learn what they can do and to take action. So I wanted to learn about what to do by doing it myself so I could better talk to people about it. In 2013, we set about changing all of our appliances from what they were to more energy efficient, Energy Star label. And we looked at the date of most of them and they were about ready to change anyway. So again, that's an important part of the planning. So we got energy efficient refrigerator, stove and dishwasher. And also we got energy efficient washer and dryer. And we switched the dryer to electric. So everything was part of the process of electrifying our home.
So this is our induction cooktop, and it is really very easy to use, and it has the extra bonus of it made us buy new utensils, new cookware, which actually for the first time I feel like, okay, we've got really good cookware, and it does make a difference in combination with how fine-tuned the controls are on the cooktop. It really does make a difference in the quality of cooking and the preparation of the food.
Most important things we've learned through the years is the power of our purchasing decisions. And if we take into consideration a product before we buy it, first, do we really need it? Then who made it? How was it made? What happens to it for the parts that we no longer want? For instance, if there's any plastic in it, it's not biodegradable and it's going to be there forever. We also try to buy local, get organic, and we start grocery shopping at the farmer's market. These containers they sell at the farmer's market, they have plastic in them. We were accumulating it. We don't want it. So we take it out of there and we put it in the plastic bags that we reuse over and over again, and then just wash out. Food waste is the fourth most important aspect of climate change. And so by doing a grocery list before we shop, we've got our meals planned out, we know exactly what we need and how much. We're stopping food waste. We also buy in bulk when we can, and the composting, which is a law now in Marin County.
So drought has been becoming an increasing issue here in California for a number of years now. So the biggest thing we've done to conserve water is to gradually migrate our irrigation system totally to drip irrigation. And then last summer, we also installed a new controller for that system that is sensitive to weather. So it actually gives the plants the amount of water they need depending on how hot it is, how wet it is, etc. All of these plants are drought tolerant. Many of them are natives. So they're well adapted to the normal conditions that we have here, and increasingly to the changing conditions as well. One of the fun things we do is every day when we heat up our water for shaving, for shower in the morning, we capture it And it then turns into water for our wildlife here in the form of, gosh, probably 15 or 20 species of birds that have come in now and know this is the spot to come to get water.
We became early adopters of things. So when the first Nissan Leafs rolled out, we got one, we ordered one. We got this license plate, the 0000 gas, because we wanted to help promote EVs because most people didn't know about them. And then in 2019, we got our wonderful Chevrolet Bolt and our charging station over here. This came free because we were early adopters and they were encouraging people to get EVs. It charges both cars and it's been going since 2011. Searching around for different ways of doing things that you hadn't thought of before. One of the things that we discovered was floor carpeting, FLOR. And this is an example of it here. It comes in tiles that you can use to design a room. It is, the cool thing about it is it's made out of carpeting. So it's recycled carpet. And if you stain or ruin one of the tiles, you can buy some extra at first and just replace it. So your carpeting isn't ruined. And then you can send that tile back to the company and they'll make it into more carpeting. So it's a cradle to cradle kind of company.
And another fun thing that we've done is take some salvage lumber or wood from bits of the urban forest that have been cut down and have them turned into custom furniture. So what you're seeing here is a coffee table that came from, I believe it was an ash tree, and also behind us, this sofa table, same tree. And you can see some of the connections if you look closely in the grain. You know, climate change really is the biggest challenge that we're facing in these times. And to me, it's the power of us, the power of individuals, and also the power of us collectively, that we really need to translate all the good work that's being done by dedicated individuals to translate that into systemic actions taken by our governments and our public officials.
Oh, welcome, Bill and Tamara. It's so nice to see you. Bill, I'm sorry, I was remiss in not talking about your leadership as well. Tamara founded Resilient Neighborhoods, but you've been incredibly active on Sustainable San Rafael and now on the Marin County board. So thank you both for your tremendous leadership over many years. So over the course of filming the homes on this tour, we did hear from many homeowners that they had participated in the Resilient Neighborhoods workshops, Tamara. So can you tell us a little bit more about that initiative?
Yes, and I was really pleased. 8 of the 10 homes had all gone through Resilient Neighborhoods. It's basically a workshop where we help people reduce their household carbon footprint and also help people prepare for emergencies. It's a workshop with 5 sessions. It's free, it's fun, it's online, and you get together and take actions with other people in a climate action team. So we've had over 1,900 people in Marin go through the program and reduce over 11 million pounds of carbon emissions in Marin. Our average household reduction is 35%. And we're doing something new right now too, because those of us who are alive right now are probably going to make the difference in what happens in the future. As you were saying, Gretchen, 2030 is coming up real soon, and that looks like a really critical time. So we've added on a 2030 plan where we work with people to take actions in the workshops, and we help them do a 2030 plan to take the critical actions that you've learned about. We're learning about that other homes have taken, and we can tell from the other green homes, it doesn't happen overnight. You need a plan. When are your appliances going to caulk out? When are these other things going to happen? So we're going to help people plan, give them all the resources, information they need to take the actions, and then follow up with them every year and keep them motivated to do it till 2030. So just want people to know that we would love to have you do our program and support you in working towards a green home or apartment. And you can sign up on our website at resilientneighborhoods.org. And maybe we can put that in the chat. And just ask for more information. Scroll through our website and check it out. And also consider signing up for our next climate action teams that start in January after the holidays, on January 12th, meeting Thursday evenings, and January 18th, meeting Wednesday evenings. So I hope you'll do it and we can help you have a green home.
So I'm just going to pull some of the questions out of the Q&A, and it's great because we have so many chat ambassadors that are also answering the questions too, but it's nice to hear from you guys as well, of course. So people are interested in your heat pump. So on 100-degree plus day, how cool does the cooling unit get indoors?
Well, basically it can get, I don't know, it's not as cool as you want, but we have had no issue at all on 100-degree days in terms of staying, very comfortable within our house. So, we take other steps. We close shades. We close off rooms that do tend to heat up more than others. But there's been no problem with the heat pump keeping up with the heat.
Most of the time we've had 100-degree weather since we got the heat pump, which was this summer. It was also, spare the air and turn your air conditioner down to 78. So that's what we did. But so it was at 78. We didn't try and take it to 68, but it worked fine. It was great.
So when you guys purchased and switched out your stove to have your induction cooktop, Bill mentioned that you had to get new cookware. And did you have to get all new cookware, or did you have some existing cookware, pots and pans that still worked?
We had a few that still worked, but the new stuff is cooked so much better that we're not using the old stuff that much. But we do have some backup from older pots and pans as well. It needs to have that magnetic bottom in order for the system to work.
Did you go through the process of taking a refrigerator magnet and sticking it to all your pots and pans to see?
Exactly. I was just going to mention that. Does it stick?
Yeah, it's amazing how few of them were. Were magnetic. But anyway, yeah. So
one of the early, I wanted to ask you about a couple of early things you did. One is that you used Rising Sun, and I know that now they're not doing in-person house calls, but is that what you got? Did you get the in-person house call from Rising Sun?
Yes.
And what kind of things did you get?
We got they brought over, was it CFLs then? Did they have LEDs?
I think it was, yeah, it's a long time ago.
They brought over CFLs, which are toxic and we have to, dispose of properly now. But at the time, that was a big, from incandescence, that's a big difference in energy use. So they brought, I think they gave us 10 of them. They brought over a clothesline that we hooked up outside so we could dry our clothes outside. Power strip, what else? And they checked for water leaks, and they didn't check our irrigation, but they did a lot of, checking for energy usage and all too. And we recommend them in Resilient Neighborhoods program too. That's one of the assets, things that people can do that's free. Yeah,
they've been around a long time. And so It's great that they're still out there doing great work. And it was neat to hear that you started with them so many years ago.
They're also putting young people to work, which is great, and getting them enlisted in the climate movement.
Yeah, they're training lower income people on how to have technical jobs, technical skills too. So it's a really good organization.
And people skills.
People skills too.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to move on in the program now. And if you want to jump down into the Q&A to see if there's any unanswered questions that you could answer, that would be great.
We'd be glad to.
But thank you so much.
Thanks, Tamara and Bill. Switching out the gas appliances in your home and going all electric is one of the most impactful actions you can take to reduce your family's carbon footprint and fight climate change. Quit Carbon is here to help you plan your green home transition, and for free. They'll recommend the right appliances for your home, introduce you to the best local contractors, and even help you review bids. Reach out to quitcarbon.com today and start planning your journey to quit carbon. Okay, as mentioned earlier, we have a few homes on the tour today with accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, and this is the first one. Jody and Silver have made a lot of changes to their Fairfax home over the years by accessing the many rebates and financing programs on offer.
Welcome to our home. Silver and I, Jody, we live here in Fairfax in Cascade Canyon. We bought this home in 1992, so we've been here 30 years this year. It's a special place. We like it very much, this home. We got started actually quite a while ago on moving toward energy efficiency and a green home and being socially responsible, environmentally responsible. I was involved in the environmental movement a long time ago, but my son got involved again in elementary school here in Fairfax with Cool the Earth and started learning about compost, etc. And that was in the early 2000s, like 2005 or so. Yeah. We bought electric car, and we bought a used American-made electric car, the first one, a neighborhood electric vehicle in 2008. But that was our kind of introduction into, okay, we're going to live in the new world.
You know, my godson Jolan came home from school one day. He's so excited. He says, "Oh, we got to get these things called solar panels and put them on the roof and collect all the sun." And so then it
snowballed from there.
This house is a split level house. We're in the upper floor, which is where the main house is, which will take you inside. Downstairs, we have an ADU that was here when we bought the house, but not legal. We made it legal. And we're also converting the garage into another ADU. But for now, we'll start here and invite you into the house. So you come in our back door with our storm doors, which are new, and our all of our double paned doors. So this is our kitchen. Come on in. Okay, so here in the kitchen, we started with an electric stove, which we bought about 10 years ago, and have been using that, and recently just bought an induction burner so that we can start to learn to use it and eventually replace this with a full induction cooktop. Also in our kitchen, in our spare bathroom and laundry room, we have electric appliances, electric dryer, and electric washer, of course. So when we first moved into this house, it had 5 skylights. None of them were double paned, and there was a lot of heat that was trapped and came in the house. So a few years ago, we replaced all the skylights with double paned, and as you might be able to see, they have a built-in shade, and there you can open and close them. So we regulate a lot of the heat and the coolness in the house with the skylights. They also are not hardwired. We use a remote control that is solar charged. We did replace the old gas furnace that was in the house a few years ago, 2 years ago, with a heat pump system. And upstairs, we did maintain all the ducts, had those replaced. So we have central heating and cooling. Here's one of our registers. So here on our upper deck, we did put in a Japanese soaker, so we can fill it with cool water if we're hot, or warmer water if we're cold. It's got no electricity. It's very low tech. In the back part of our yard, we have a chicken coop. We've had chickens for about 10 years. And have rebuilt our chicken coop a few times with recycled tin sheets, as you can see. And then also we do have bees. We also have done a lot of planting, very specifically for the bees, to have flowers that bloom and have pollen and nectar at different times of the year in order to best feed and support our bees. All right, here we have one of our 4 tanks, rainwater catchment system.
So we have 130 gallons here, 235 on as well. So altogether we store 790 gallons of water when it's raining, and then reuse that for watering. We did have, Marin has been very active in fire prevention, and we did have a report, as all our neighbors did as well, on fire hazards around our homes. We were asked to remove these two bay laurels here, which were really close to the house. So we took those down. And also, we've been working to minimize the plants in 0 to 5, the 0 to 5 zone. And then part of that as well here, our catio, we covered it with a really fine mesh. Should there be an ember storm from a fire, that would prevent the embers from getting in there and potentially burning the house down. This is our larger water tank. This is 235 gallons, and we have 2 of these. So again, we catch the rainwater and use it for watering plants. The other interesting thing here is with our garage conversion, we had to do our sewer laterals, replace those. This house has 2 of them, which is unusual. And we had to replace all these stairs, which had been here for over 30 years anyway. And it was an issue for us to have to use cement, but it is a little bit lower content carbon in terms of there's more ash in this cement, but the low carbon, the really good cement that we're all waiting for, not quite here yet, but hopefully soon. So here we are in the garage, and these are our 2 power walls. We have a double set. Absolutely incredible. We've had a number of power outages in Fairfax and Marin, and it clicks in without hardly any notice. We don't even know there's no electricity until we look outside and see no lights on. Here our neighbor's generator. Or here in yeah, so this has been really wonderful for us, also because we have 2 electric cars. But the other feature I'll just mention here is called the flume, and these were available through Marin Water. It's attached to our water meter, and it monitors how much water we're using every hour, every day, how much is indoor, outdoor. You can set it so it tells you which appliances are using what. And we also have a alert on it, which I've needed before. If the water's been on for more than, you can set it 1 hour, I get an email that says your water is running. Then, because once or twice I've gotten distracted, forgot to turn it off. Okay, in this area of our garage, this is our sort of our utility closet. And here we have our heat pump water heater. And then also back in here, we have our air handler and the duct system that goes to the upper part of the house. And also our filtration system. We have a MERV 13 filtration system as well. Keep the air nice and clean. So here we have our heat pump. HVAC unit, outdoor unit that serves both the mini split down here, ductless mini split in our tenants unit, as well as it feeds into the whole ducted system upstairs and regulates the temperature and the heating and cooling in the whole house upstairs as well. This shot here is of our mini split downstairs in our tenant's apartment. You can see it's there against the wall. Okay, well, we want to thank you very much for watching and coming to our home and seeing what we've been up to over the last 15 years or so. There's much more information, many more rebates, etc. out there now. So I encourage everybody to get started, take a look at when your heat pump water, your water heater and your space heating will need to be changed out, and make a plan so it doesn't happen in an emergency situation. Hard to go through all this process in a crisis. So hopefully everybody will get going, and we'll have some cleaner air and a better planet for all of us.
Sweet ending.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, sweet ending. Okay. Now, thank you for sharing your magical home with us. Really, really beautiful. You can see I'm looking off screen because they're in my Zoom over there on my monitor. But so Jody, many people think that they can't afford the green home upgrades that we're seeing on this tour, and you and Silver have been very effective at finding and using rebates and financing programs to help with your upgrades. Do you think you could share a little bit more about how you navigated that process?
Yes, well, one thing I'd say is we did do some planning. So we were saving money for quite a number of years, realizing that we wanted to make this change. And it was going to be costly to some degree. So we were stashing money away so we would have a little fund. And then when it did come time to get it going, we realized that we qualified not just for regular rebates through Electrify Marin and Bayrin, but their low income fixed rates, because I'm no longer working for money and Silver works part-time. And so we're on a fixed, pretty low income. So we qualified and ended up, our entire project cost about $30,000 and we got about $10,000 in rebates. And that's before the IRA rebates that are coming. So, that was part of our plan. We also have been asking folks, both of us are older adults, so we have asked different vendors if they have discounts for older adults, which they don't always mention upfront. So for instance, our stairs, all the concrete that was done, the company gave us a quote and we responded and said, any chance you have a senior discount? And they added a 5% discount.
That was Van Mitty.
Yes. So, that's also been a tactic. We also just got some electrical work done, and the company that we have been working with realized how much we've been doing and gave us a 15% discount just because of our dedication to green homes and climate action initiatives. So that was really a nice surprise.
That's amazing. It's a reminder to, like, you don't get what you don't ask for. So
Exactly.
that's great that you've found these ways to make it more affordable. So one thing that I thought was interesting about your home is, a lot of people hear about heat pumps that are ducted and then the mini splits that are not ducted. And your home shows that basically you can have the same condenser outside running two different systems on two different floors, one being ducted and one being ductless. And so my question is, did your installer suggest that to you as a possibility of what you could do?
Well, it actually, I think, backed up a little further. We worked with a Bayrin energy advisor, Jason Green. We worked with him for well over a year, actually, before we undertook. And, he gave us 3 quotes of companies and we researched it. And through that process, we learned more about those 2 options, ductless and ducted. And then when it actually came time and we chose a company that we wanted to work with, then we started talking through with them sort of the pros and cons of that process. Our upper house is barely 1,000 square feet, so we don't have a lot of wall space really for mini splits, 3 or 4 or 2 or 3 mini splits, and our ducted system needed a bit of an upgrade anyway. So given all of our floor registers, we figured the best way to get heat and cool air throughout the house really wasn't mini splits upstairs. And it would have been quite a bit more money to not use our ducted system. But downstairs, our tenant used to be ducted, part of that system, but we also had to share the temperature control. Whatever she used, or we used. So it was easy to put a mini split right outside her wall, which is where the heat pump is. And so that gave her the opportunity and the option of setting her control as she wanted and separating it from our upper system.
It seems like those are really ideal for these kind of situations where you have an ADU.
Yes, and we're currently converting our garage into it's been our office, and we're making it a sort of a shared office and living space. And in there, we decided to go ahead and leave it's on the lower floor too, but we're leaving the duct in there because the space is so small. And again, the cost of adding a whole mini split in that part of the house would have been prohibitive. So we stayed with the ducted downstairs on that part.
Hey, I had a couple of questions about your rain collectors. One was just, how do they work? Like, how does it work? And the other is, did you get a rebate for them?
We did not get rebates because we put them in quite a while before there were rebates. And so they work really well. They fill up fast. It always surprises me how not that much rain will fill up your tanks. But they fill up quickly, and we use the water. We're on a slope, so we don't have, as some of these houses have these great systems where, you know, the water's filtered all around. We don't quite have that. We just can carry or direct the water with hoses to different parts of the outside, but they work really well. We recently, when we first put them in, we didn't put full filter systems in them. And we recently worked with Water Champions and got better filters and better ducting so that they can filter the water better, and we have a good supply there.
Great. Well, we're going to move along now, but thank you, ladies, so much for joining us tonight. And I see questions popping here and there. So if you want to jump down into the Q&A, that would be great.
All right, great.
Okay, thanks so much, Jody and Silver.
Thank you, Bet.
Great. So in the last time we saw, Jody and Silver were experimenting with an induction cooktop in advance of buying a full induction range. Our first presenter today is Noah Cordova, who leads the kitchen electrification campaign for the Building Decarbonization Coalition. Noah is going to tell us what's wrong with gas and what's right with induction. Welcome, Noah.
Hey, Gretchen, we have a sponsor message first.
We do.
We do. So if you want to do an introduction to the County of Marin.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. I jumped ahead in the script. Apologies. So last night we had Mark Chabria from County of Marin give a presentation on all the rebates and resources available to make your green home upgrades more affordable. Marin County's sustainability team has been amazing in helping pull this green home tour together, and they're one of our top sponsors. They're also a vital one-stop shop to help you electrify. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Noah. Welcome, Noah.
Whether you want more comfort, better air quality, a lower carbon footprint, or to use today's most advanced technology, the Marin County Sustainability Team is here to help. Learn more at marinsustainability.org or email us at energy@marincounty.org.
Third time lucky. Hey, Noah. Wow, that was kind of a mess. But anyhow, you got all the information you need about the amazing County of Marin Sustainability Team, and they are an amazing organization, and they're happy to help you with all your questions. So, so glad you could join us, Noah, and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to share my screen real quick to chat with y'all about induction cooking and kitchen electrification. I know that's kind of a little bit of a through line through a lot of the home tours is people talking about induction cooking and this idea of electrifying in their kitchen. But for some people, this may be a new topic, and the idea of induction cooking or even the word induction might not be something you're familiar with. So I wanted to take some time to explain it and explain the concept of kitchen electrification with everyone, so we have like a good base level of knowledge. So first I'll start with building electrification. Building electrification is the idea that we're taking a building that is powered by gas and electric and transitioning it to be only electric. So this is things like water heating and space heating, clothes drying, and for the purposes of this conversation, cooking. This may be something that people are familiar with, but this leads really well into the idea of kitchen electrification, which is the same thing, but just in a kitchen. And we think about kitchen electrification, it's the idea that we're taking like things like gas stoves and gas ovens, and we're transitioning them to be all electric through technologies like electric induction ranges, the electric commercial kitchen, which has a wide slew of things that relate to it. And we're thinking also about things like equitable access to these technologies that can be at a cost premium in a lot of cases for people, and policies and programs like rebates and education, kind of like this, that make it more accessible to people, either through just like them knowing what it is and understanding it, but then also matching people with financial incentives that help them make the transition, because a lot of people can't without it. We do this for a number of reasons. So we think about electrifying a kitchen for a number of reasons. I'll get into them in more detail, but the primary four that I like to think about when I think about kitchen electrification is performance, safety, health, and sustainability. So all electric kitchens, in my view, are higher performing, they're safer for us to use, they're healthier for us to live in and to be in, and they're more sustainable because they're all electric and we can power them with renewable energy. Quickly running through kind of the different technologies that are available when it comes to kitchens. We think a lot about the range or the cooktop or the stove, whatever word you use to describe that cooking surface that you put a pan on and you hit go and you make the most delicious food you've ever eaten in your entire life. Every single night, of course, not some nights you use the microwave. But there are three options when it comes to a cooktop. There's electric coil or smooth top, which you might be familiar with. It's the hot red coil that we put electricity through, and it heats the coil, which then it heats your cookware indirectly. They're about 70% efficient at getting like the electricity that you put into the appliance into like heat and energy in your food. And when you use electric coil, the only byproducts that you have from that process is the heat that comes off the coil that goes into your kitchen and any smoke or steam that comes from what you're cooking. The next one that's super familiar to people and what we're talking about here a lot is gas, which is primarily made up of methane, but it has a lot of other ingredients to the cocktail that it is. They work pretty intuitively. It's you light the gas, it produces the flame, and then that flame heats indirectly the pan, which you're cooking your food on. When you combust gas in a kitchen, unlike electric coil, where all you have is heat and smoke from ingredients, you also have a number of other byproducts like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxides, I have it written wrong here, formaldehyde, and other things that come from it, like the heat and the smoke from the ingredients of what you're cooking. But the big pieces here are that carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides, as well as other particulate matter that comes from the burning of the gas itself, are actually pretty harmful to our health. Carbon monoxide obviously is one that people might be familiar with. This can be in high concentrations can lead to pretty adverse health impacts, and nitrogen oxides can reduce lung capacity and lung functioning, in addition to particulate matter, which if you're living in California, might be familiar with, wildfires and smoke that comes from that, and how outdoor air can impact people who have predisposition for respiratory illnesses. Same thing with a gas stove at much lower concentrations, for example, than like a forest fire. The third technology that people may not be familiar with, but is a big conversation starter when we think about electrification, is induction. I'll get into how induction works more specifically, but induction compared to these the other two, which is about 70% efficient for electric coil and about 40% for methane gas, is about 85 to 90% efficient, which means that 85 to 90% of the electricity that we're putting into the appliance is being transferred in terms of like real cooking in the heat and like work done in our pan. And when we cook with induction, the only byproduct that we have to think about is the smoke from the ingredients or the steam or whatever it is we're cooking, because induction cooktops that by themselves are not a heat source, and I can explain why that is. And in terms of what is in the all-electric kitchen, there's a bunch of different pieces. So there's the induction cooktop or electric cooktop. It's not a bad thing. It's just induction is really great, and I'll explain why. Proper ventilation, which plays into this idea of the healthy home, the one that has good indoor air quality with ventilation that's moving things out that we don't want in there and moving things in. Well, hopefully moving nothing in. Hopefully moving clean air into our homes. Things like electric ovens, or in some cases, the electric oven is paired with the cooktop in form of a range, which is just one singular appliance. But then also things like electric small appliances. Maybe it's countertop induction cooktops that you can use portably, or instant pots, or your coffee maker, or whatever it might be. There's lots of different ways to utilize electricity in your kitchen that you may not think about as being part of the whole picture. But the induction cooktop in particular is one that I'll dive into because it's something that's new to a lot of people. Induction cooking, like I said, is different because the cooktop itself is not a heat source. This is a diagram that explains how induction works. And it works by using electricity to create a magnetic field that's about 1 inch off the top of this cooktop and the glass on the top of the cooktop. And that magnetic field connects directly to the pan, and connects directly to like the magnetic content in the pan, and it takes all those little molecules in the pan and it just shakes them really, really, really quickly. And all that shaking creates friction, which creates heat directly in the pan. So that's why I say that induction cooktops by themselves are not a heat source. They instead use magnetism to make the pan a heat source. And that's what makes them really energy efficient and also a lot safer, because the cooktop, unlike a gas cooktop or an electric coil, if you touch an induction cooktop, unless you put a pan there, there's no heat and there's no safety risks associated. There's also, like I mentioned, no waste heat that's coming from the cooktop or pollutants from fossil gas combustion that's going into your immediate environment when you're cooking. And this makes one thing that's really helpful is it makes kitchens using induction cheaper to cool and ventilate and more comfortable to work in. I know we're all after Thanksgiving coming up, we're all probably thinking about these big family meals we're going to be cooking. And we all know that when you're cooking for long periods of time, your kitchen gets really, really hot. With induction, much less hot and much more comfortable to work in, which can be really helpful for vulnerable populations who are really sensitive to indoor heat or just heat in general. Some of the benefits that I have alluded to that I'll talk about a little bit more related to the all-electric kitchen are performance, safety, health, and sustainability. So unlike electric coil, which we know is an electric technology that can be powered with renewable energy, but it's not always people's favorite. Induction cooktops and things like combination ovens provide a really different cooking experience. They provide a lot of control, a lot of power, and a lot of convenience. And the fact that induction cooktops can heat water about double the time as gas, and they're extremely responsive. So if you have your cooktop on 10 and you press it to 0 and you're boiling water, immediately you cut off the circuit to that cooktop and cooking stops completely. Unlike an electric coil, which may have a lot of latent heat that continues the cooking process, probably similar to gas, depending if you're cooking on grates. So it's a really, really high performing technology. I'm sure a lot of the people that are doing the home tours can attest to that. The other piece is safety. Because there's no open flame, that means that a lot of that heat that comes off of a flame when you're cooking isn't present. So your handle on your pots aren't getting really hot. The grates or the surrounding of your cooktop isn't getting really hot. And so you have much less opportunity for burns or for catching things on fire. If, for example, like you put your oven mitt too close to the flame. The last piece that I've alluded to as well related to the indoor air pollutants that come from gas is health. So an open flame in your kitchen means that you're combusting that gas and you're releasing the carbon monoxide and the formaldehyde and the nitrogen oxides that are associated with it. And when you cook with electricity, you're eliminating that flame and then that source of indoor air pollution, which is going to be healthier for lungs and other parts of our body as well.
I was just going to say, I'm here to do the time check that we're at 10.
Sure. Great. Yes. Last piece is sustainability. Electricity powered with renewable energy can be a really great opportunity to be more sustainable in your home.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Noah. That was great. And thanks for hanging in there with all my kerfuffles there. Noah's going to pop down into our Q&A to answer any questions while we move on to the next home. So the next home is brand new construction. In fact, it's so new that it's not quite finished yet. Because homeowner John is building from scratch, he was able to start with an extremely insulated shell. His solar battery storage and EV charging system is cutting edge and indicative of what will become increasingly available in the near future.
Hi, I'm John Sarter, and this is my new home. We just finished building it, or we're actually just in the final stages. And what really drew me to this area is the beautiful nature around it. We're on the edge of the Marin County, a new Marin County park called Bucks, and that is bordered by China Camp State Park. And the solar access is great, and I've lived here in this neighborhood before and just really enjoyed it, so I'm back. One of the first things you're going to notice as you come up to my home are the permeable pavers. And what makes them permeable is that they have a larger gap between them than normal pavers that gets filled with kind of a coarse rock instead of sand. The sand they usually use kind of jams up the holes, but the coarse rock allows water to run through the pavers and into the substrate. And underneath the pavers, there's about 17 inches of permeable backfill, which is rock that doesn't have any cement content, that allows that water to filter on through. In case of a heavy rain and there's excess water, we do have surface drains that will carry the water into filtration planters, which are in back of the house. And those help slow the water flow down so it doesn't get down the hillside and into the bay. So all of the concrete in the foundation, I requested high fly ash content as much as they could. And that's a recycled byproduct from, I believe, from coal, actually. And that makes it a lower carbon concrete than your typical concrete. My experience in passive house construction taught me that air sealing for a building is very important. So in this structure, I used this zip system plywood, which is a recycled content OSB board with a coating on it that makes it air and water tight. And then you tape it together at the joints with this black tape that you'll see up on the seams up above in order to make it a very air and watertight barrier. The product also self-seals when you put nails in it, so you shouldn't have any leakage through the nail holes either. The reason there's nothing covering these zip system panels yet is because the Core 10 steel that is going to cover them is on its way here. What we plan to do is pre-rust that and then seal it so it won't continue rusting. But the great thing about steel is it's a recyclable product, so if we ever decide we want something else, it can be recycled. Welcome inside. So you'll notice as you come in the foyer and the main living area, and also upstairs, we chose bamboo hardwood floors. Bamboo, it's strand woven, so it's actually one of the hardest woods there is, and it's also highly sustainable. I think bamboo is actually a grass, so it grows very quickly. You'll notice the fan up above. This is a 6-foot fan, and by using ceiling fans, it reduces the perceived temperature inside a home by, I think, up to 15 degrees. So it's a great tool to be able to survive in the heat without turning on your AC. So the kitchen is not fully installed yet, but this home is all electric, so all the appliances will be electric. We're going to have a Bosch induction cooktop here. So the fireplace is a fireplace by a company in Canada called an Optimist fireplace. And what it does is it sprays a fine water vapor up that curls exactly like real flames, and then it underlights it from underneath with bright LED lighting. So it looks exactly like real flames, but you could stick your hand in it. And then it has an electric heater that blows out of the top for actual heat when you want heat. So you can have a fire that looks real and not producing heat. So this is a Rheem Platinum Plus performance hybrid heat pump water heater. And the great thing about having it in the garage is that it actually produces cold air that blows out of this outlet. So it'll help keep the garage cool, and it'll help offset the extra heat that's created by the inverter, the decibel inverter that's also going to be in the garage. So this home is going to have a decibel smart home energy system in it. Decibel is a solar inverter combined with a 2-port EV charging system. One of those ports is bidirectional. So what that means is you can directly DC charge your vehicle from your solar, then you can use your vehicle to power your house. The windows in this home are from Alpen, and they're passive house certified, triple glazed, tilt turn windows. So what that means is you turn the handle 90 degrees and the window opens fully for cleaning and maximum ventilation, or you can turn the handle upward and have it tilt back for less ventilation, but security, and also to keep the rain out. So this fan is a big ass fan. It's actually smaller than the big fan in the living room, but that's the company name, Big Ass Fans. And they are some of the nicest fans, I have to say. It's got a setting where you can put it on they call it whoosh, where it'll change its speed to simulate a natural breeze. So they're really quite nice, and they can be thermostatically enabled also. So the padding underneath the stairs and the carpet is actually ground up pieces of Posturepedic mattresses, and they call it Sealy Pad. So it's recycled Posturepedic mattresses, essentially, that gives it a nice springy feel when you walk on it. So this is a Lumen Smart Panel, and it basically sheds the larger loads in your electrical panel when the grid goes down. What that means is, let's say I'm at home working, my wife's cooking, so she's got the oven on, the range on, and the water heater's heating. So if the grid goes down, that's a lot of electrical appliances that would be on at one time. what this will do then is shut some of those devices down that you don't necessarily need. You'll see that we have 2 electrical panels here, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is that we have more electrical appliances and circuits than one panel could handle. And we're also putting all the loads that the lumen is going to shut down when the grid goes down into one of these panels. So it'll connect to just one. All the fixtures in the house are EPA certified WaterSense fixtures. They're low flow, but they have a nice output. We've got a rain shower head up here. They're by Growy, these particular ones. And we wanted a luxury shower, but we didn't want to waste a lot of water. So we only have one valve with a converter switch. So it'll give you either functionality up here or from the rain shower head. So we kind of have a lot going on in a small space here. This is the air handler for the heat pump system. And this basically takes the air and circulates it throughout the home through a ducted system. These right here are on each of 3 separate zones, and it's a damper control that will shut one entire floor off from the heating or cooling operation. And then back here is the heat recovery ventilation system. And this is continually bringing fresh air into the home because today's airtight homes can build up toxins inside. So this will draw in fresh air continually from the outside and exhaust the air from the outside, and also filter that air as it comes in. These devices can be super helpful also during wildfires if you have a tightly sealed home because they're filtering out that smoke out of the air. This is the main electrical service for the homes where the power comes in. This is the condenser for the heat pump system. And basically this will provide either hot or cold liquid to the air handler, which has a fan coil in it that blows air across the coil, being either hot or cold, provides either heat or cooling to the home. So you're coming out of the master bedroom onto the roof deck now, and this is where the skylights from the living room are located. This particular skylight we raised up 30 inches so we could put a glass tabletop on it and use it as a table as well. Thank you very much for visiting my home, and I hope I've given you some ideas for your own.
Oops.
Do we have
Holy-
John? There he is.
Hi.
Moly, John, that house is.
Oh, look, you have your fireplace in now.
Yeah, I got the fireplace going. Yeah, so it's it looks like real flames. It's really remarkable on the
That's
effect.
incredible.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
it's got an audio track with crackly sounds if you want it to sound like a fire. But I kind of like it just being silent, you know. I mean, my car's quiet, my home's quiet. I want my fireplace to be quiet too.
It's beautiful.
Your house looks so different from when I was there to film. So it's really exciting to see it come together.
Yeah, we're the final stages of moving in, getting settled in. So
Nice.
I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it's still kind of a mess, but we're getting there.
Welcome, John. Thanks for joining us tonight. So the batteries in EVs are bigger and have more capacity than most home batteries. So once you get your decibel charger installed, you'll be able to power your home. If or when your grid goes down using your car battery. Are there decibel chargers available now?
You can make a reservation now, but they're in the final stages of the UL listing. So we haven't been able to install any products quite yet. We're expecting the very first installations to go in probably at the end of the year, and then, you know, moving into next year, we'll be ramping up production and be able to supply a lot more.
Very exciting.
So a couple questions in the Q&A. Love your dual function windows, hinged and canted. What brand did you go with?
Those are Alpine, and it's from a company in Colorado. They were fairly reasonably priced. You know, I mean, the European tilt turns are very expensive in part because of the shipping involved. So the Alpine windows, you know, I think the whole house was under 60,000, and you know, we've got some gigantic 4-pane sliding doors and stuff that I think it was really pretty well priced for the product, and I'm really happy with them so far. They're super well insulated and very airtight.
So when you do get your decibel, a question from an attendee is, how do you get PG&E to approve the decibel?
Well, we are working with PG&E to streamline the process, and they're actively involved in helping, you know, helping that effort because they see it as a way to enhance and stabilize the grid. By aggregating, you know, a number of electric vehicle batteries, you can actually provide a giant virtual power plant that can help eliminate the need for peaker fossil fuel plants and that type of thing. So and provide power at peak times of use. It's sort of like, they're doing that with large grid scale batteries now, but if there's a million EVs and everybody's home at the end of the day and allows maybe a 5% discharge of their battery, even it's more power than the largest grid scale storage battery in the world today.
So do you plan on having batteries do you plan on having home batteries as well as a car battery to use? Are you going to have both systems to be able to tap?
Yes, I am. I'm going to have a smaller battery. You don't need as like some of the projects I've done, I've put 3 Tesla Powerwalls in, for instance, and that's very expensive. But there's when you're using your car battery as well. So all we really need is one smaller stationary battery. The benefit of doing that is, one, if the car is not there, you still have a backup power source. And number 2, you can pull power from both the stationary battery and the EV at the same time with the decibel unit, so that you can provide more continuous power to your home.
Do you plan on doing it, tapping these storage batteries just in power outage situations, or do you plan on using them in a daily way to draw power during peak hours?
Yeah, I definitely plan on using them at peak times of use in order to cut my bill or, eliminate the bill. We've got a pretty robust solar array, so, and the net metering laws are always changing as far as being able to push power out and bring it back and balance your bill out. It's likely to get less friendly to the consumer as time goes forward, because they're really trying to encourage more home energy storage. It makes a lot of sense on a number of levels. So yeah, I definitely will use it at peak time of use, though, for sure. When the sun goes down and my solar's not generating, I'll kick over and start using my vehicle and the stationary battery.
The last questions that I wanted to ask you is that you have a heat recovery ventilation system, which I have mainly seen in new construction, but I've started to see them in older homes as well. Could you just tell us a little bit more about, are they called HRVs?
Yeah, there's 2 different types. One is an HRV, that's a heat recovery ventilator. And then there's an ERV, which is an energy recovery ventilator. And the difference is the ERVs will actually help control the moisture content in your interior air. They can reduce the humidity and make it feel cooler by virtue of that as well. And you can retrofit them into existing ductwork too. This particular model that we put on my home actually attaches to the plenum, and then but the main thing is that you want it to run continuous in an airtight home or almost airtight home. So that's really pulling those toxins out.
Great. Well, thank you, John, for joining us. We're going to move along, but I see in the Q&A that people are fascinated with your fireplace and really want to find out where you got it and all the things.
Yeah, that's the hard one to give up for, myself and my dogs. We love sitting by the fire, right? So having a nice aesthetic look and an electric blower on the top will work for us. I'm actually, you can look down below, there's a cantilevered hearth down there, and I'm going to put an electric heater underneath there for the dogs. So
Sweet. No, I'm so glad that you have it in the background to show people the ambiance that you have going.
Great, thank you.
Thanks so much, Ron. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So another one of our sponsors, Red Horse Constructors. Green building and sustainable design have been woven into Red Horse Constructors' approach to building since their founding 31 years ago. From the selection of building and finished materials to the design and construction of the mechanical and energy systems, Red Horse can provide solutions that will help reduce your project's impact on the planet, increase energy efficiency, and provide a healthy environment that stands the test of time. Thank you for your support of the Marin Green Home Tour with Red Horse Constructors. And thanks to owner David Warner for presenting on yesterday's tour. Okay, so we looked at a lot of single family homes. Now we're going to look at a case study of how a multifamily apartment complex was greened. And I have the pleasure of introducing Megan Chin from the Association for Energy Affordability.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Happy to be joining you today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started. So today I'm going to be talking about, as Gretchen mentioned, the MC's multifamily energy efficiency programs. So first, just a little bit about who I am or the company that I work with. It is, oh, sorry, it looks like my slides aren't progressing. There we go. So I work for a company called Association for Energy Affordability, or AA for short. We're a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to achieving energy efficiency in both new and existing buildings, particularly focused on affordable multifamily. So we administer a variety of programs throughout the state, including the Low-Income Weatherization Program, the Bambi Program, as well as MCE's Multifamily Energy Savings Program and LIFT. So before I go too far, I want to make sure everyone knows who MCE is. They're California's actually first community choice aggregator. So what that means is that they source and procure renewable and local energy and use PG&E's distribution to get that energy out to their service territory. You can see here that MCE's mission is really to confront the climate change crisis by eliminating fossil fuel and greenhouse gases, producing renewable energy, and creating equitable community benefits. And that sentiment is sort of echoed in the program design. So MCE's service territory covers 4 Bay Area counties. The first is Marin, then Napa, Solano, and Contra Costa. So if you're within MCE service territory and have a multifamily building that's 5 or more units, and you are deemed affordable, you'd be able to qualify for incentives through MCE's programs. So before I go into the case study, I just wanted to highlight some of the benefits of participating in MCE's energy efficiency programs. The first is really around the technical assistance. So when you sign up for the program, you'll be matched with a technical advisor who will be your guide throughout the entire program process. So they'll go and actually go to your building and do an on-site assessment to look for different energy efficiency opportunities and talk through those opportunities with you to help you decide what would be the best fit for your property. After that, we'll help develop the scope that you want to move forward with and also work with contractors to ensure that whatever is being installed and purchased meet the program requirements. One of the other benefits is really energy efficiency. So the program is targeted at providing incentives for energy efficiency upgrades. So that includes anything from lighting to appliances to domestic hot water heaters. So there's a variety of opportunities at a site. So you'd be surprised at what we can come up with and how we can save you energy. One of the other benefits is electrification. So that's moving over from natural gas to electricity. Natural gas is a fossil fuel and it is greenhouse gas intensive. So moving over to electricity that can be produced from renewable sources really aligns with MCE's goals as an organization. So we provide pretty generous incentives to help move your natural gas appliances over to heat pumps. So that is HVAC, that's water heating, and it's not a heat pump, but we also do induction cooking. There's also robust TA, technical assistance, when you're looking to make that switch. At times, there is a constraint about existing electrical capacity at buildings because people in the 60s didn't realize that we'd have as many electronics as we do. So luckily, there are incentives available for electrical upgrades to help allow your building to take on more of that electrical load. And then the last benefit I want to talk about is really program layering. So I mentioned MCE has 2 flavors of program. One is the Multifamily Energy Savings Program, and that's available for really any deed restricted affordable housing. But there's also another program called the Low Income Families and Tenants Program, and that provides higher incentives for any residents that meet certain income thresholds. Even outside of MCE, there are a number of programs out there for the multifamily space. So the TAs on our team are really well versed in what's out there on that landscape. So we'll look to always be connecting with other types of resources so that we can bring more funds to your project and hopefully help you go a little bit deeper on your retrofit. So the project I want to talk about today is called 1440 Lincoln Avenue. It's located in San Rafael, and it is an 8-unit building. And all 8 of those units are concentrated in a single building. and it was built in 1962. The total square footage of the building is just under 4,000 square feet, so it's relatively compact. The reason being is most of the units there, actually all of the units, were junior 1 bedrooms. So when we had this property come through the program pipeline, there are a couple of goals. One was to modernize the property while maintaining affordable rents, upgrading the gas wall furnaces because they were original to the building, and also increasing resident comfort because it's up against a street that gets fairly busy. So we wanted to see if we could help create just a more comfortable environment for the residents. So what I wanted to highlight here is the incentives that we were able to bring to that property. So we were able to co-leverage both MCE and BayREN, and I kind of showed a split of how we were able to do that. So keep in mind, MCE's programs are really focused on affordable low-income housing, and there are 2 units of the 8 that were Section 8. So they were able to actually qualify and leverage MCE's LIFT program. So for those 2 units, they were able to get ductless mini splits, Title 24 compliant windows, and for that scope of work, they were able to get $12,400. There's an extra 6 units in that building, and the property owner really wanted to have everything be the same. So we were able to pull BayREN into the picture, and they were able to provide the same ductless mini splits and Title 24 compliant windows to the remaining 6 units. And then also LED lighting both in unit and on the exterior of the building. And for that scope of work for those 6 units, they were able to provide an extra $12,000 to the property. So in total, $24,400 to help make this scope of work happen. And I have just a couple of photos here. We can see that old wall furnace replaced with this sleek new ductless mini split. The outdoor units ended up being located on the roof, so it was out of eyesight and there wasn't any concerns about tampering. And this provides both heating and cooling, so that's an additional benefit that the residents previously didn't have. And then the windows here you can see it looks a lot more hefty and protects the residents from some of the outdoor noise and drafts. So project outcomes, common area energy bills have been reduced by about 1/3. Residents have let the property owner know that they're very happy with the new HVAC system. San Rafael, during a heat wave, I can imagine they were very happy to have that AC newly added to their property. And the double pane windows did what we thought that they would do, which is reduce the traffic noise and just make it more comfortable overall for the indoor environment. So here's just a quick program process if you're interested in participating. I think the main highlights here is just to fill out a questionnaire. We'll schedule a site assessment, help you pick contractors if you need it, and develop a scope. And then once everything is done, we'll come back out and make sure everything was installed to the specifications. And if you're interested and want to know what the first step is, I've included a couple of links here. So the first is MCE's multifamily programs. Again, it's for deed restricted affordable housing. But if you have a market rate property, multifamily property that's within MCE's service territory, or really the 9 area counties, Bambi would be a great place to start. And that's everything I had for you guys today. Thank you again for your attention this evening.
Thank you so much, Megan. And if people have questions, you can drop down into the Q&A to see if there's anything happening down there. But I really appreciate showing what's possible with these multifamily.
No problem.
Thanks so much, Megan. So now that we're talking about multifamily dwellings and apartments, it's time to look at another complex where the property managers are making big changes to save energy and water, while also reducing waste and greenhouse gas emissions.
Mercy Housing California is the largest regional branch of Mercy Housing Incorporated, a leading national affordable housing nonprofit. At Mercy Housing California, we develop and operate 160 affordable, service-enriched rental housing communities that change the lives of families, seniors, and people who have been homeless. 4 of these communities are in Marin County. From construction to community development, we advance innovative solutions to meet the scale and urgency of California's housing crisis. Mercy Housing's Green Hope program was designed to reduce our consumption of natural resources, reduce our waste, and create healthier living environments. Between 2010 and 2020, Mercy Housing reduced energy consumption by 24% and water consumption by 27% across its portfolio of properties. Now, we've taken up the Department of Energy's Better Climate Challenge, aiming to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030.
Good morning. My name is Jose Felix, and I'm the current senior property manager for Maria B. Freitas. And I started working in this property since it was open. Actually, I was the maintenance technician. It was open in October 1997. So I was helping in moving all the residents here, helping them in many activities. And I'm so glad to work for this community. It's been very well maintained and administrated since the beginning. So I'm so glad to show you this property and also everything we have done to save energy. And we have a pleasure to participate in this Marin Green Home Tour. Hello again, this is the lobby of Maria B. Freitas, and I just want to show you that in all these light fixtures, we have replaced all the light bulbs for LED. And that includes all the common areas, the exterior in the garden, the parking lot, and even in the units. So with all this, since 2018, we have saved 50% of electricity. So that is a tremendous help. I also want to show you the bulletin board in which our resident service coordinator helps all our residents to get educated in how to save energy. So we get a lot of help from Green Hope, in which we post this kind of signs, and they tell them with detail how to save energy, how to save water. Okay, so now I want to show you the community room for our property, for Maria B. Freitas. And here is where we do the celebration of 4th of July. We do the birthday party celebrations for some of our residents, and all kind of different holiday celebrations. In addition, we also do a monthly education to all our residents. So here, for example, sometimes we bring a guest, we bring the fire department, and they explain to the residents how to evacuate the building in case it's needed, how to prepare for emergency, for a blackout, and things like that. We also educate them about recycling and compost and how to save energy, which we also provide them a lot of flyers so we can explain when they are not able to see or they speak a different language, or for any other reason, we just kind of clarify exactly what they need to know. So now we are here in the laundry, and we want to show you that we have 6 washers and 6 dryers, and all these washers are Energy Star, which are part of the program since 2018 when they were replaced. And those are part of the reason why we save 50% of electricity. So here we are in the mechanical room. So what you see, it is the tank that accumulates all the hot water that goes to all the units and the common areas. So since 2018, like part of the program, we installed the Energy Save system, which is kind of a sensor that helps the system to save energy. When people is not using hot water, it stops the circulating water pump. So we save energy not using it if it's not necessary. As soon as people start using hot water, the sensor detects that it is a need to use hot water, and it turns on, and everything goes back to normal, so nobody loses hot water. Okay, so now I want to let you know that we have 62 apartments in this community, Maria B. Freitas, and we have about 64 residents. We only provide housing for seniors, 62 or older. And hopefully we're gonna show you one of the units inside. So this is the interior of the unit. We are here in the kitchen, as you see, and we have a few items that are very, very helpful for the seniors. So this is a new technology smart burner. So what it does, it prevents fires. So what that happens is if any resident forgets that they have cooking and they leave it on, it gets to some temperature in which it turns off by itself. So that way it prevents fires. We also have the faucets in which we save water with these new aerators. They are kind of filtering the water like spray. So it feels like a lot of water, but in reality it's less water and we save water. As long, we also have replaced old toilets for very low water, like only 1.6 gallon per flush. And we also have replaced the shower heads in which they also save water. It is time to say goodbye. Thank you very much for letting us know to present to you how we save energy in our beautiful community. So I just want to emphasize that this property, Maria B. Freitas, is administered by Mercy Housing Management Group. And if you have family, low-income seniors who are looking for housing, check mercyhousing.org. Thank you.
Mercy Housing thanks our partners at Affordable Community Energy for helping us to finance many of the sustainable features you saw today. We also thank our partners at MCE for helping us implement crucial water and energy saving measures. For more information about Mercy Housing, visit mercyhousing.org.
Welcome, Rosalind Sternberg, Communications Manager at Mercy Housing. What an amazing organization and such a vital service that you're providing for our community. And please extend our thanks to your property manager for taking us through the facility there. Landlords and property management companies are often reluctant to make these sorts of changes that you've done because it involves spending money up front. Did Mercy have help calculating how much the changes would save over time to see if it would actually pencil out?
Yes, absolutely. So as mentioned in the video, Gretchen, there was a big retrofit at Maria B. Freitas, the property that you saw in this video, in 2018. And we financed that through the ACE Pay from Savings program. So ACE helped us figure out how much energy would be saved, actually provided the upfront capital for that rehabilitation and retrofit. And then we paid back out of those savings. So basically we retain 20% of the savings and 80% goes to pay back that capital. We've also had other communities had amazing support from MCE using some of those same layering programs that Megan referenced in the last presentation. So yeah, we've had great partnerships with our utility providers.
Wonderful.
So
yeah,
do you have more things on the horizon that you all are looking to do?
Yeah, thanks so much. Absolutely. So as mentioned in the video, this is one community in Marin. We have 4 in Marin. Mercy Housing California oversees 160. So portfolio wide, which is the whole country, which is more like 350, we just committed to reducing emissions 50% by 2030. So that's called the Better Climate Challenge. So we're mostly focused on reducing gas, reducing propane emissions. So that's going to look like electrification. It's going to look like partnering with utility companies that are focused on renewables. Solar will play a big part of that. Across the bridge in Richmond, we have a new senior community that just opened called Hacienda that has a beautiful solar array that's already reducing not just our bills, but residents' energy bills, which is a big positive outcome for affordable. And Maria B. Freitas is being screened for a solar array as well as a battery kind of backup pack. And we'll get financing for that through the the Self-Generation Incentive Program, which is a state program that single family homeowners can benefit from as well. Yeah.
Yeah, when we were flying the drone over it, we were like, look at all that delicious roof just waiting for solar.
It's waiting and it's ready. Absolutely. Yes. So when we do the Marin Green Home Tour in 2 years, you'll see an even more reduction in savings, I'm sure. Yes.
Awesome. You know, I know that I just want to go back to something that Jose said, which is sometimes we overlook that the things like just switching out your light bulbs to LED, but the amount of savings, especially in like larger multifamily facilities, like like what you're talking about, it really translates into big energy savings and money savings.
It made a huge difference. Yeah, significant energy reduction from that 2018 retrofit, and most of it is just thanks to those LED changes, both in residents' homes and common areas. So I think that's a great point.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I just wanted to, encourage people to, especially people who are seniors or have seniors in their life, to check out Mercy Housing.
Yes, please do. Our doors are open. And we really appreciate MCE for the invitation to participate in the tour, and everybody for having the forward thinking to involve affordable and multifamily in this participation. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Rosalind. So another one of our amazing sponsors is SunFirst Solar. SunFirst Solar is a locally owned and operated solar energy company located in San Rafael. They've been in business for 32 years and have built strong partnerships with the most innovative companies in the solar industry. They've got exclusive access to top quality products and offer a wide range of options for any size system and budget. They also have an experienced in-house team focused on solar pool heating solutions. Reach out to SunFirst Solution and let them show you how much you can save with solar. Big thanks to SunFirst Solar for their support of the Green Home Tour. Now, as people remove natural gas appliances from their homes and replace them with electric models, it often means looking at the electric panel to see if there's enough room to power these new appliances. To help us navigate the trials and tribulations of the electric panel, I'd like to introduce Eric Morrill, who is a contractor, architect, and energy and sustainability specialist. Eric, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us.
Oops.
Hi, and I'm glad to be here. It's been great to see these projects. It's very, very inspiring. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about electrical panels, and more specifically, I'm going to try to talk a little bit about what you can do on your existing electric panel if you feel like people have been telling you that you don't have enough space to add anything to it, because I think you probably do. And, there are, in terms of the electrical panels that you have in your house, you might only have one panel. You might have one panel and then some sub panels that are feeding some of the loads that are connected to that main panel by a breaker that leads to the sub panel. If you've only got one panel, it's possible that, like this one in the middle here, it is directly adjacent to your meter. And like I said, for many people, your electrical service is not going to pose a problem in terms of adding some electrification loads right now. You can find out what your main breaker rating is, if you don't already, by looking close to your meter. There's going to be some sort of a disconnect for your entire unit or house. And a house that's got 100 amps can be electrified completely if it's, sort of a medium or smaller house. Same for a unit. And above that, you can also manage to do it, but you have to do a little bit of magic and try to kind of finesse the loads and be careful about the machines that you're installing. And I should mention, this 100 amps, it's going to include a heat pump water heater, heat pump space heating, induction range, and a heat pump dryer, and level 2 EV charging. So you can put all that on as long as you are doing it correctly. So there is the possibility that you're going to have to do a service upgrade. And so I just wanted to talk about the difference between service upgrades and panel upgrades. If you've got less than 100 amps, and here we've got a main breaker that's a 40 amp breaker, then it's probably a good idea to have a long-term vision for how you're going to be working on the project in phases. Because like I said, maybe you've got an 80 amp breaker and you can put something on there, but you're thinking, by the end of this project, I'm going to need to upgrade the service. Now, if you've already got enough electrical service, 100 amps or maybe more, there are still some other problems that you can encounter at your panel. You might have no breaker spaces available. So here's a panel that has enough capacity electrically, but it just doesn't have any physical space to plug any new stuff into. Or you might have an older brand that's discontinued, and some of the older brands insurers don't like and they want you to replace. So that's one case where we recommend usually replacing the breaker, the actual panel. But if you are in sort of the second or third situation where you've got enough service, you can also, a lot of older houses have no free breaker spaces. You can just add a little sub panel right next door. That's the most economically efficient way of doing it. If you want to replace the whole panel with a larger one, that's also possible, but it just takes more time to wire. So again, this is sort of the options for physical space limitations in your panel. If you need to add a new sub panel, like in this sort of a situation, I usually recommend that you don't add just the right size, especially if you're phasing your project and you only need 2 breaker spaces now. You should remember that each of these electrification moves that you're going to be making is going to require 2 full breaker spaces in the panel that you're putting in. And I also like to recommend, especially if you're thinking about a service upgrade later, that you put in a new panel that has at least 225 amps of electrical capacity in the bus bar, which is kind of like oversizing a downstream system. Doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but then maybe later you'll use that, and the cost is really only like $30 or $40 to get that larger electrical capacity in the bus bar. If you are upgrading on a smaller service, you might have a service that's 60 or 80 amps, especially if you're in an apartment. You might be able to electrify some things now, and the more you consider the loads that you're adding individually, the more space you'll leave yourself for the future. And EV charging is definitely one of the biggest loads, unless you're driving more than 200 miles a day on average. So like Monday 200, Tuesday 200, Wednesday 200. You don't need to have a super fast charger at home. It's kind of like wondering if you need to have a gas station at home. I think most people would conclude you don't, but you can install something that's a little bit smaller and leave space for other loads. And it's also good to note that if you've got a smaller service, you might want to prefer a condensing dryer or a single piece range, which takes less space in the National Electrical Code calculation methods that your contractor should be using as you add these loads to your building. Load sharing is also a neat trick that you can use if you are trying to avoid a service upgrade. So for example, you connect a range and a EV charger on the same circuit. So not only are you not having to accommodate for that extra load on your electrical service, so the amount of amperage you have, but you also share a spot in your panel, so you don't need as much physical breaker space. But this is something that is not allowed necessarily by all local jurisdictions and not for all loads. So there has to be a conversation with the building inspector before the project is kicked off. A couple of budget ways, just if you're listening and you're thinking, oh, this is, I'd love to start this project, but how do I start? There are a few really easy ways. We saw Jody and Silver are using one of these countertop electric induction cooktops. They're a low budget way, and you can just immediately tomorrow turn off your gas stove. You might not be uninstalling it, but you won't be using it anymore. And also, I like to point out that especially for larger houses, if you find that you're only in one room and your furnace is on, it's heating the whole house, heating blankets for staying warm are far more efficient than conditioning all of the air inside of your house. And both of these you can do without an electrician. So let's say you need a service upgrade. This entails filling out a PG&E application. PG&E charges about $2,000 for that minimum. And then you are responsible for hiring an electrical contractor to do your property's side of the work. And this can usually cost $6,000 or more dollars. That portion can get much more expensive if it's underground service or if your house is very far set back on the lot. And then it can also add a month to a year in delays, which is why I really like to recommend avoiding the service upgrade when you can. And like I mentioned, there are a couple of situations where that can take a really long time. It's partially because you might have to do underground work. PG&E might have their transformer that is at capacity, so that can take some time to resolve with PG&E. And then also the standards have gotten stricter in terms of the service that you put in. So your current service location might be too close to your gas, for example. And so you have to meet today's standards, and that can be difficult for some older buildings. It's all possible, but it just adds time and complexity. So thinking about next steps, just to finish up, when you're planning for full electrification, you want to find out your main disconnect amperage, which is your service that you have to the building. And then you should have a long-term plan. And that's something that it's also a service that we provide. I think there are a few people now who are doing that, and that's great. And then also, when you're adding these loads, make sure that they're part of that plan and that you don't put in an EV charger and suddenly realize you've exhausted all of your space for electrifying the other things. And I also like to mention that HVAC, and we saw this to some extent with some of the projects, your HVAC system can be smaller if you have done that insulation work. So that's a great place to invest your money if you're looking to reduce those first costs for HVAC and also have ongoing energy benefits. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Eric. We're going to move on to our next house, but I just wanted to let everybody know that I used Eric's services to fully electrify my 1920s bungalow, and I am now all electric on a 100-amp panel. And so it can be done, and it's just a little bit of a Rubik's Cube. So it's good to know people like Eric to help you out.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Amy.
Okay, thank you
for that excellent presentation and really taking something that can seem really complex and big and just boiling it down to a few basics. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, and Eric's going to drop down into the Q&A if folks want to check in with him there. So our last home in Larkspur has a small all-electric rental accessory dwelling unit in the back. Homeowner Tom used the services of energy consultant Peter Waring to help him plan his upgrades, including the electrification of the unit. Let's take a look.
The greening of 10 Willow Avenue started with efficiency first, as this home, built in the 1930s, had great upgrade potential in sealing leaks and insulating the ceiling, walls, and floor area. With the building envelope well insulated and sealed, the home has required much less energy to keep warm or cool as appropriate through the year and has not needed air conditioning. Over time, a vegetable garden, many drought-resistant native plants, including flowering pollinators, drip irrigation, low-flow water fixtures, flume water monitoring system, rainwater catchment system, fire risk reduction hardscaping with used brick and other fire mitigation measures, LED lighting, and changed the ADU unit heating behind my house to electric heat pump heater, hot water recirculation system, and induction range were added. In 2014, we installed solar. An additional solar was added in 2016 when I got an electric vehicle. The ADU was created by getting a permit from the city of Larkspur to rebuild from foundation up a very rundown backyard building. The new building was built on the existing foundation. Within that foundation footprint, additional space was provided with a loft bedroom. Temperature management in the cottage benefits from the mini split system, which can heat or cool. Comfort is further aided by the honeycomb insulating blinds. Space is commonly dear in ADUs. The removal of a gas heating system and replacement with compact wall-mounted heat pump system made the space formerly occupied by the gas heater available for cabinet space. As an ADU, the unit doesn't have a full kitchen, but tenants are able to manage well with a 2-burner induction cooktop and a combination microwave oven. This unit makes affordable housing available to tenants like the current one, who works for the Larkspur Parks and Recreation Department and now doesn't have to commute. When I started looking into conversion to heat pump, I conferred with Peter Waring, an expert in green buildings and energy. Peter helped guide me to contractor and heat pump selection and to the very successful heat pump conversion we did in the cottage. I have other rental property, and Peter has helped me with energy efficiency and electrification improvements there. I've also consulted with him for commercial building improvements on an office building complex, as well as a large redevelopment project involving new rental housing. Whether small or large project, I like getting the opinion of one of the best independent experts I know of on building energy efficiency and electrification.
Hi, I'm Peter Waring. I have a green building and energy consulting business called Healthier Dwelling. And I've enjoyed working with my friend and colleague, Tom Flynn, over the years, both on his own house here that you've seen today and on a number of other projects. But one thing I'd like to point out about Tom's home here is that it was definitely a fixer-upper. There were a lot of things that needed to be done. It would be overwhelming for most people to think about doing everything at once. So what's really important is that he's been able to come up with a plan to stage things and do something now and then build on it later to do it later. And I'm always available to help people out. I enjoy working with homeowners, figuring out what they need, what their priorities are, and what's the most logical sequence of events for improving their house within their budget.
Welcome, Tom. There you are.
Hi, Tom. Welcome. So,
Hi.
Hi. Many people feel lost when starting to plan for the electrification of their home. Can you talk to us? Sounds like you worked really closely with Peter on this project. And can you just talk to us a little bit about the advantages of working with a consultant to help you plan your electrification project?
Sure. Well, actually, I see it as kind of the whole house efficiency and electrification and solar, essentially greening the home as a whole series of steps. And Peter actually is very knowledgeable in all of those aspects. There's other consultants, but he's really one of the best in the area. He's taught at local community colleges and so forth. Essentially, having someone who's up to date on all the latest equipment, who has it as a specialty, and who also is staying up on the best incentive programs that are available, changing things with regulatory picture and so forth, is one of the advantages, whether it's a home or a more complex building, including a commercial building, as Peter has helped me with in many instances. So I think in many respects, I encourage people to get themselves up to speed as much as they can. There's a lot of good information on doing the efficiency first, to reduce your demand first, and then move on to things like electrification and solar, et cetera. But I also think that a lot of people can really benefit from tapping one of these specialists.
So one of the questions in the Q&A field is, what is Peter's full name and contact? And that it's Peter Waring, and his
Peter Waring, and it's healthierdwelling.com. And by the way, they're one of the sponsors of this program, so you can see their logo, and you can, I think
You can click on their logo on the homepage and it'll take you to his site.
Yeah, again, it's healthierdwelling.com.
So Tom, I'm curious, does the ADU share any systems with the main house, such as solar energy or hot water coming from the main house?
Yes, it does. It does. And that's one of the things that simplifies it and makes it, relatively and more inexpensive to set up and also make more affordable. Yes, basically, they are on the same meter as I am. So the solar that is generated from the solar panels in my house, that's offsetting their use as well as it's offsetting my use. Also, I have, a hybrid heat pump hot water heater, which feeds their house as well as mine. And, I have hot water recirculation system, which, is on demand. So it's, Peter push the button by my kitchen, it, goes directly to the fixture. But in his case, or the tenant's case, they're like right next to the hot water heater and the insulated pipes that get it over to them.
So I'm curious about the hot water circulation pump. So back yesterday when we were looking at Bob's house, he had a voice activated one, but the one that you have is an actual button under your kitchen sink. So could you tell me a little bit about sort of what's behind the curtain? Like, where does that button go to and how does it speak, so to speak, with your hot water heater?
Sure. Well, it's essentially the wiring for that button goes to the recirculating pump. And the recirculating pump is mounted right next to the hot water heater. And you push that button and it turns the recirculating pump on, and that pump pushes the hot water out to the fixture. So rather than, you turning on the water and letting a lot of water run, it's like it pushes the cold water back to the hot water heater and the hot water out to the fixture. And it can be activated by a button, or as in the case of Bob Brown's place, there's voice activation that can essentially trigger that electrical signal that can be, button or voice activated.
So you have a rather large rainwater catchment tank. Is that hooked up yet, or and what are you watering with the water you catch off your roof, or what do you intend to water?
That is going to be used for garden purposes primarily. Yeah, pretty much exclusively. It could be used in the event of a fire. The folks who came around from the fire department said, well, they're going to note that I have this available as a potential source of water in a fire. But primarily, its regular ongoing use is going to be to help me get through the dry period of the year.
So one of the
In
questions
my outdoor irrigation.
So one of the questions that popped up in Q&A is that your solar panels are on a flat roof. And this person was told that they could not put solar panels on a flat roof. So,
well, you can certainly put solar panels on flat roofs. The roof, in my case, does have an angle to it. I think maybe from the perspective of the drone, it looked like it was flat, but it actually does have some slope. But there's many buildings where it's been successfully installed. Now there may be some characteristics of the type of roof, that is in this specific case flat, where the solar contractor, maybe what they were trying to say was that you need to make some changes in your roof, but that's a rarity from everything that I know.
So does the recirculation pump work with a tankless water heater?
No, actually, the approach with a recirculating pump is that it takes the volume of water that's already hot in the in the tank and get it out to the fixture or the shower, what have you. A tankless hot water heater also gets water directly to a fixture. Sometimes it can be even mounted under a fixture. But at this point, it seems that the prevailing best case approach in terms of cost and in terms of delivery of hot water, and also in terms of having that ability to store some hot water so it's available when you need it, that approach generally seems to be winning out now in terms of being a more cost-effective approach.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for joining us. And there may be some questions unanswered in the Q&A if you want to drop down there and
Sure.
see what the conversation looks like. And thank you so much for sharing your home and ADU.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, so if you're fired up and ready to take the next step, or you're just wanting to learn more, I want to share some very useful websites.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gretchen. We have another message from one of our sponsors.
Okay, so thank you, SPAN, for your sponsorship of the Marin Green Home Tour. Their electric panels are amazing. So if you're fired up and ready to take the next step, or just ready to learn more, I want to share these very useful websites with you. For one, you can visit the Marin Green Home Tour website to look up details on each of the homes that you saw both today and yesterday. Just click on the photos of the homes. On our resources page, we've a curated selection of websites that are all good starting points for whatever green home project you want to start planning. The page also includes a link to Resilient Neighborhoods, Cook Electric, and the Induction Loaner Program, which you heard about today. Well, this concludes day one of the inaugural Marin Green Home Tour. Thank you again to our terrific sponsors. And I want to give a special thank you to Sustainable Marin for acting as the fiscal sponsor for the Marin Green Home Tour. Now, if you missed day one, we'll be posting the recordings of both days to the tour on the Marin Green Home Tour website in the coming days. We'll also email the links to you. Please feel free to share the tour links with anyone and everyone you know who's interested in making their home more resilient to our changing climate. We'll also be sending out a post-event survey and would love your feedback on the tour. Now we'll be keeping the Q&A fields live for the next 10 minutes. So if you continue to have questions or comments, please keep it going. We'll be active there and we'll be trying to answer any lingering questions that you may have. Thank you so much for attending today. We've loved sharing people's homes with you to light pathways and show you what's possible here in Marin. A big, huge thank you to the Marin homeowners and renters who are out there working to make their homes match their values and their vision for a greener future. Thanks so much for attending.